Welcome to Narrative. My name is Veronica, and today we're going to be talking about success, specifically helping you figure out how you define success to achieve it more easily. But first, for the eagle eye can see that I'm not standing over here with my white wall because today I need to sit down because I hurt my knee doing something. I don't know. I'm over 30 now. I don't know. It just popped, okay? I don't know. So today we're having a little bit more of a sit down talk about success. Without further ado, let's get into it. Success is something that is defined by many different variables, and it is this kind of thing that gets thrown around a lot. It's like, you need to be successful, you need to achieve this thing, and you need to like get a successful life, whatever, like whatever people say, I don't know. It gets thrown around a lot as this arbitrary or universal version of what success is. But that's not true. You need to figure out what you define as success, and you should be pretty detailed about it in order to make sure that you can achieve it. But it also becomes a sort of a roadmap for you to check yourself against, like, hey, this thing that I'm doing, is this actually aligned with my goals and my definition of success? Because your definition of success tends to overlap, if not be the same thing, as a goal. Your definition of success will be influenced by who you are as a person, what your past is like, what your current situation, and your dreams. All of these will influence how you define success, what you view as successful. Now, the stereotype in society, of course, is having a lot of money, having a lot of cars or bags and stuff. It's essentially being rich and being powerful, or rather having a lot of money and being in a position of power is kind of the societal universal definition of it. That does not have to be true. We live in a capitalistic hellscape, so of course money usually tends to be part of it because we all just kind of don't want to live in this shit anymore. And the only way to escape it, which is not really escaping it, is having money so that you don't have to worry. I'm getting off track. Am I? Really? Technically I'm not, because the money part is really big part of success. So you know what? Let's keep going here. I don't think I'm off track, actually. Money aspect is going to be a part of what your definition of success is. If your definition of success is having a house in the countryside where you're living your best witchy life in the bog witch lifestyle kind of thing, you still need money in order to fund that lifestyle and to buy that house. So you see, while money might not be the thing, it's always gonna be part of your definition, or getting there in a way. The reason I wanted to talk about this today is because I've heard a lot of people around me lately speak about how dissatisfied they are with their life, even though when we sit down and actually talk about it, they are already on the path towards where they want to go. It's just that it's not clear to them. And that's fine. It's usually easier for other people to see it more clearly than for you, because you're in your head, you have all the emotions, you have the minute details, everything. It's much easier for a friend to kind of help you bounce that idea back and forth. So I highly recommend discussing what we're going to be talking about today, discuss it with friends. I want to be very clear here and say that your definition of success is never going to be the same as someone else's. So don't look at someone else's definition and say, I'll take one of those. It's not going to vibe, because they don't have the same experiences as you do, or necessarily the same dream as you do. And even if you have the same dream of having like van life and remote job, what you view as van life and what part of van life is fulfilling to you, and in what specific way and what energy you want out of it, is never going to 100% match someone else's. That's why it's so important that you figure out what success means to you. I want to be very clear here that even if you don't really figure out what your definition of success is right now, in a month or in a year, in 5 years, you're fine. It is a process. It's sometimes, and not even sometimes, oftentimes it changes. I have this quote that I don't really know where I heard it or where I picked it up or whatever, but it's stuck with me for a long time. And it is, when you reach your goal, it's never what you imagined or expected. And I really think that we need to embrace that. It's something that I embrace, is that yes, I have this big goal over here, or I have this other goal over here. And when I reach it, it will always have morphed because time has passed. My experiences has changed. My skill level has changed. My expectation of things has morphed. And that's fine. You need to give yourself the space for your life to exist. Ultimately, what you want to do is learn how to define success so that it becomes clearer, this vision becomes clearer for you, so that when you make choices in the future, that you can check yourself against that and say, hey, is this gonna bring me closer to this? Or is this in the vein of this that makes me happy? Because if it's not, then you know that I'm not gonna say yes to everything. And I think that you might have heard this concept before, is to say no more than yes, so that you are more intentional with your choices, or choices in life, basically. And that is kind of what we're talking about. If you have a clearer vision of what your definition of success, aka your goal, is, then you will be able to say no to, hey, this job opportunity over here, it's not aligned with what I want to do, so it will be easier to say thank you, no thanks. Or going on certain trips and you go like, hey, I don't really like that kind of stuff. I'm a homebody. I wanna have my little life at home. Then it will be easier to say like, hey, you guys have fun. I'll be here when you come back, and leave it at that. And you will find a sense of security in your life, in your life choices, when you know what you're working towards. And a lot of people who are successful, that other people view like, wow, they're so successful, they're just go-getters and all of that stuff, they have this thing already defined. They know where they're going, what it takes to get there, and they make the choices that gets them closer to it. And that is what defining your success is going to do for you. And it is something that when you have defined your success and you don't, I say success so many times in this video. Anyway, you're gonna have to deal with it. It is something that when you do that, it will be easier for you to build your life. And when you do that, it is inevitable that you will succeed. Inevitable. Of course, there's gonna be outliers who are like, oh, I need a $40 million mansion in Las Vegas and hanging out and partying with Beyonce and all of that stuff. That's not really in the realm of realism, right? Depending on where you start, of course. If you're like, oh no, I'm only in a $20 million mansion in outskirts of LA. I don't know, I've never been to LA. I don't know how to... Either way. Depending on where you start and everything, of course. But if you're a broke ass like me, $40 million mansion in LA is very unlikely. Either way, it might not be your goal to have that either. Doesn't matter. If you're realistic, and I want to put a little bit of an asterisk on that, but I want to finish the sentence first. If you're being realistic, then it is going to be inevitable for you to achieve that goal, because you are going to know what you need to do in order to get there. And you will be more conscious and more intentional with how you spend money, how you spend your time, making sure that you're rested so that you have the energy to go out there and, what's it called? Take the day? Capture the day? Yeah, capture the day, I think. Now going back to that little asterisk, like bring it back, okay. Realistic. You want to be realistic, but not too realistic. And the reason for that is because you want the definition of success to be this life goal, right? The big achievement in life. So if you are, let's take pro athletes, and you have this 23-year-old that now just got Olympic gold. They achieved their dream really early on, and a lot of them just go home and go into a deep depression because they're lost. What are they gonna do now? You know? Because they already achieved that goal. And yes, don't get me wrong, it is highly unrealistic that someone like me, a regular little pleb over here, would ever in multiple lifetimes be able to achieve what they did. It's an amazing achievement. But they achieved it so early in life that it's sometimes Or it's quite common to hear them talk about being lost and not really knowing what to do now. And that's what we want to avoid. And one way to do that is to make sure that you take the time you have right now when you're not in the success, like the huge success that you're looking for, is to change your mindset regarding it. And that changing the mindset regarding it is to shift away from saying this is the goal, it's the one goal, and after that, nothing else. No, it's going to be, this is my current big goal. So that if you achieve it in 2 years' time, you go, great, I got it. Now I can come up with a different goal. And you keep creating new ones that you climb further in life, because you don't want to get stuck in like, oh, I have this one big thing. Like, I want a Ferrari. I don't know why I picked that, but you want this car, this fancy ass car. In 5 years, you manage to get it. Then what? What's your definition of success? Is it just a different car? Is it just a different sports car and luxury car or whatever? You see that you instead of being in control of what your success looks like and what your life looks like, you're just aimlessly chasing this thing that you have defined in your head that yes, luxury cars is success, therefore I will have 16 cars. Rather than taking, okay, I got the car that I wanted, now I have all of these resources, or I have this power situation, whatever, situation of seat of power, whatever. And now I can create something new, and then like another step and another step and another step. So that is what you want. Like, you don't want to be too rigid in your dreams and your goals and all of that stuff, but you also don't want to be too realistic. Rather than but, it's like, and you don't want to be too realistic. I don't know. Pick the word you choose. Now let's bring it back to our little community here about storytellers. And we tend to have a pretty narrow and strict definition of what successful means. And that is to be a published author or have a film, your script produced, that kind of stuff. And while that is something that I agree with, is that yes, that is definitely a sign of being successful, that you have books published or your stories published. I'm gonna use stories published as a catch-all term. So if you're a scriptwriter, if you are a author, if you're a journalist, or if you're a fan fiction writer, I don't care. It's a catch-all term, like your stories. I can understand where that comes from. However, I think it's a little bit too rigid. Now, in a previous video, I talked about my time going to Las Vegas, going to the 20 books to 50K conference, and how I was not at all happy with people's behavior in that conference. Like, not inappropriate, but like in this mindset kind of thing we're talking about, how they were looking at people and they clocked out of conversations if you were less than a 6-figure author, or if you were not a full-time author. You know, that kind of mentality, that kind of behavior. It is something that is very common in our little community. And a lot of people who are new that comes into it and get influenced by all of these inputs or these opinions or whatever you want to call it, right? They tend to grow into those mindsets and just take them for granted or as gospel, I suppose. And I strongly encourage you to not. Like I highly encourage you to question them very thoroughly and ask yourself, is this definition of success what I agree with? And for some people, if not most people, they're gonna say yes, being a full-time author or a 6-figure author is the definition of success. That's what I define as successful, and that's okay, don't get me wrong. What you finally settle on is your definition is fine. I am encouraging you to question things in order to suss out, I guess, what your definition is and what you think about certain things. All of this is just a way to get your brain going so that you can figure out how you want to achieve things in life. You can see how long time I've been recording because this line just moves further and further into my face. I'm gonna have to move. Let's take full-time author as an example. The first question that I would encourage you to ask is why? Why is a full-time author success and why is a part-time author not success? maybe one of the questions that you come to is because this lets me do it full time. I don't have to do other things. So is it being a full-time author that is your sign of success, or is it the amount of freedom you have, or is it the amount of money you're making? Because then on top of that, you also need to define how much money do you need to be making in order to be a full-time author. Do you see what I mean? That you break it down into more concrete numbers and examples and definitions, that instead of like full-time author, okay, that means that you have X amount of money. That means that you have some kind of specific setup. Your life is arranged in a certain way to allow for it. You have a certain level of productivity. You need to define these things. Yes, as I said, they're going to be fluid and they're going to change and morph over time. But in order to take full-time author as the success down to a realistic or understandable level for you to connect with, so that you know what choices you're making in life that going to align is going to get you there, you need to define them first. Because being like vibes and feeling like, oh, full-time author, I think that being a full-time author is going to make me happy. Why? What is it about your current life that you are actually unhappy with? And why would being a full-time author change that? For some people, it's literally, I hate my job. Fair point. But for other people, it is more of an indication of, when I am a full-time author, I no longer have to deal with this, and I don't have to do that, or I don't have to wake up at a certain time. Those kind of details. Ask yourself why certain things are gonna change, or why you find them so interesting. There are no right or wrong answers here. It is simply the exercise in questioning yourself. And not questioning yourself in a bad way, but maybe sitting down, having a cup of coffee with yourself and really like question, why do you think this way? Why don't you think that way? What has led to this? Why do you want to achieve that? And why do you not want to do this? What part of your life are you happy with? What part are you unhappy with? What parts are you like neutral on? What part can you keep having? What part you really don't want? Asking yourself why and why not, and why is this? How did I get here? Why not that thing over there? And why am I not moving towards that? Why are you wanting to be a storyteller as opposed to a pro athlete? Why are you the way you are? Why do you want the things you do? Is going to help you define things for yourself, and is going to make it inevitable that you will be successful, because you have it in you. You figuring out what you want from life, from professions, from certain activities, from friends, from relationships, everything can only help you. It is a conversation with yourself. In the same way you need to have open trust, open communication and trust with a partner or partners, you need to have that with yourself. Yes, it sucks. Sometimes you're like, oh wow, I'm a hypocrite. And that's fine, because humans inherently have the ability to hold two contradicting opinions and thoughts and behaviors in ourselves. And that's fine. Just facing it head on will help you figure out what part do you like, what part don't you like. You can have different definitions for different parts of your life. In your social, in your romantic, in your profession, whatever it is, you can choose spiritually even. This area is, the success is defined in this way, this thing over here is defined this way, and this thing is defined this way. And when I put all of that together, that is my definition of success. And you will feel so much more centered and anchored in life, and much more stable in storms and less stress if you have this definition to fall back on. And yeah, maybe once a year, or if you're feeling really stable in it, every 3 or 5 years, check in. Hey, is this still my definition? Maybe it is. Great, see you in 5 years. But if it isn't, then sit down and have that conversation with yourself. Bottom line of what I wanted to get across with this video is that you are amazing, okay? you're doing it, you're out there searching for information, life skills, and improving, and you're asking yourself these questions, and why is success the way it is for you? That is a huge step, and that is fantastic, and you got this. It is amazing to see when people just kind of come into themselves and just, you know, that's where I'm going. Like that's me in 5 years or 10 years or whatever. I don't care how long it takes. I'm gonna get there. That is my thing. And you can get it, because success is inevitable, even if it's scary sometimes and we don't think that we deserve it or whatever reason. Because let me tell you, you deserve success, and it is yours for the taking if you just dare to take it. Now that the line has hit my face properly and I can't really lean either direction without looking really weird in the frame, I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you very much for being here. I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you do, make sure to hit subscribe and like, and drop a comment down below what your definition of success is. It's always nice to share, and I hope that you have a good day, night, wherever you are in the time stream, and I will see you next time. Bye!